a doctor came in, said, I feel like I need to just be honest with you guys. I don't believe you'll ever come off that ventilator. I don't believe you'll ever progress. Within 3 days, basically, I was put on a ventilator. I was completely paralyzed. So it happened very rapidly. Guillain-Barre syndrome is an autoimmune disorder that affects the peripheral nervous system of your body. And if you think of your nervous system as a bunch of electrical wires, basically what it does is it strips the insulation off those wires just to the point where those wires short circuit, your nervous system short circuits, and the communication from the brain to your muscles doesn't happen anymore, and so you are rendered effectively paralyzed.
Maybe for brief moments, the thought that he would never come home could cross my mind, but they never would stay very long. Somehow I couldn't even make myself think about those things. Call it denial, but I think it was the sovereign hand of God over my eyes to even keep me from worrying. God doesn't give grace for the hypothetical, and He'll give grace from day to day. But to worry about what might be, there's really no point in doing that.
Beginning of April, I came down with just a simple cold, which quickly accelerated into a bronchitis, just a bad respiratory infection. So I took antibiotics, and just like anybody else would do. But on April 7th, I woke up in the morning, and I could hardly move. I couldn't get out of bed. I had asked my wife to help me up. And from that morning till about noon, I just became more and more paralyzed to the point where I couldn't even stand. By noon, I needed help just to get around the house. You know, the bad thing about Guillain-Barre syndrome is that it cuts off communication from the brain to your muscles, the outgoing messages, but the incoming messages work fine. So I felt all the pain but had no gain, no movement, and so neither was I affected anyway mentally. So I was all there mentally. I was all there in my mind, so I could understand all that was going on, and so it was frustrating. It felt a bit like I was closed up in a box, or chained to a bed in a way. If you told me, Michael, you're going to have this Guillain-Barre syndrome, you're going to be chained to a bed for 6 months on a ventilator, not being able to move. Before it happened, my answer would have been, probably like many people's, no way, I'm not going to be able to go through that. I won't be able to make it. And, forget it, like that's impossible. But it's amazing how God gives you grace just one day at a time. But of course there were those days when I would wake up and again hearing the relentless beating of that respirator breathing for you, and thinking, just thoughts of despair, am I ever going to get out of here? Am I ever going to get better? And really struggling with, what's the point? I wish someone would unplug the thing and just let me die. I thought those thoughts, I struggled with those thoughts, and Marie always would come in the morning and often lift me up and cheer me up. Well, I think above all, what I would want people to get out of this And from hearing my story is not just to be inspired, not just to be like, wow, yeah, look what he could do, look what he overcame. But above all, I'd want them to see that, look, with God in your life, there's hope, even in the worst situation imaginable.
Gone all the way down the hall and back.
Oh, it's like I got a kind of a rhythm.
Okay. Well, you want to stop your rhythm, it's up to you. I'll stop or...
I have no idea if I'm going to be able to ever walk again. I have no idea whether I'll be able to use my fingers again. There's little bits of progress coming back every day, but God, there's no guarantees. But regardless, I know that I'm convinced that God has a purpose in my life, and that purpose is good, and that He's going to give me as much as I need to fulfill that purpose.
Just ask the woman